Hello guys, Zion Moore here, and we're back watching we're watching I Am Dante, aka Taylor's maybe long lost brother. Because they kind of look alike. Because this, her name was Taylor. She used to be my high school friend, and yeah, she was cute, and yeah, she was, and I don't know, this guy kind of looks like him, when looks like her a little bit, but we'll check it out. Look at you can see they almost look alike. I don't know, a little bit.
Yo, what is up, you guys? I just got back from watching Straight Outta Compton, and I'm ready to watch this creepy video by Mr. Nightmare, 6 weird and unexplainable phone calls.
Oh no, I'm just a nightmare.
And it's nighttime, and I'm in
This
the
is an old video. It
garage.
came out like 6 years ago.
This
It's
can
nighttime
only
as well.
go one of many
Honestly, hey,
ways.
wait,
This
wait,
is
wait. What's do the thing actually? Oh gosh. Okay,
going to be
got it.
creepy. And this one is phone calls, so I know I don't gotta read nothing. You can just listen.
It's nighttime.
Here we go. Damn it.
We are sorry. The number you have dialed has been...
Number 6.
In 2008, 19-year-old college student Brendan Swanson was driving home after a
2008.
night
Oh,
out
I was a
when
kid.
he crashed into a
I didn't know I
ditch
was a
on a
baby
gravel
back
road
then.
in
I
the
was a
middle
little
of
kid.
nowhere in Minnesota.
I was a little
He
kid.
knew as well as us that this was a classic horror movie setup, so he called his parents and asked for a ride. Swanson's parents had
How
trouble
old was I in
finding him.
2003?
When they couldn't
2018.
find
I
his
mean
car at the
2008.
location he provided, they got back on the phone for over 45 minutes, trying to find him as he described his location. Swanson claimed he could see lights from a nearby town and was heading in that direction. But things took a turn for the creepy when he suddenly yelled, "Oh shit." Before his father could even scold his son for using such filthy language, the call cut off. And that's the last anyone ever heard from Swanson. Hundreds of volunteers, 34 dogs, and 120 days later, only his car was found. So what happened to him?
Did the animal get him?
Number 5.
I'm just glad we
In the
don't have to hear his voice
1970s,
say it.
Bashir Kauchaki opened up a successful restaurant in Washington,
That'll be
D.C.
even more creepy.
He was living the American dream, but in 1983, he became the target of an insane, non-stop stream of threatening phone calls that came several times a day, every day. In most harassment campaigns, the trolls get bored and move on to something else eventually, but Kauchaki would put up with these calls for nearly a decade. The caller earned the nickname Le Font, which we believe is Swedish for the child, because the caller eventually decided that he wasn't being creepy enough and began to mimic a little girl. Anyone associated with Kauchaki was a target, from his pregnant spouse to his restaurant employees. And the abuse got physical when the Star of David was scratched all over Kauchaki's Mercedes.
What?
When Kauchaki traveled to Philadelphia to visit his sister, the calls kept coming even there. Things got so bad he suffered a mental breakdown and committed himself to a psychiatric ward. But the calls continued to his restaurant. The FBI eventually put a trace on the phone to confirm that LaFont wasn't an insane delusion, but it was even worse than that. The calls were coming from different payphones at such a frequency that it would have been impossible for only one person to have been involved. LaFont was a plot orchestrated by multiple people for the express purpose of driving Kauchaki insane. So the obvious question is, why?
Yeah, why? Are you jealous because he has his
Number
own
4.
business?
In 1970, 25-year-old Donna Lass worked
Oh,
as a nurse
70.
at the
Oh,
first
dang.
aid station of a casino
That
in
was
South
long
Lake
ago.
Tahoe, California.
I don't know if people heard about her.
One day, Lass's boss and landlord both received calls from an unidentified man who claimed she was dealing with an illness in the family and would
Don't
be
the
out of town
creatures
for a
live there?
while. Lass's boss became suspicious and contacted Lass's mother, who confirmed that the story was bull. Lass's car was found parked outside her apartment, but there was no trace of her anywhere. The last sign of her was an entry she'd made in her logbook near the end of her final shift. The entry looked unfinished, as if someone had interrupted her. No one could figure out Lass's whereabouts or the identity of the caller, until the San Francisco Chronicle received a mysterious postcard 6 months later. It was addressed to reporter Paul Avery. The postcard was the latest in a long line of cryptic messages from the Zodiac killer. one of the most infamous unidentified killers of all time. The killer made no direct reference to Lass, but hinted that he had murdered and buried his 12th victim in Lake Tahoe. Since Lass's body hadn't been found, it wasn't hard for investigators to make a connection. The postcard provided a lot of clues about Lass's possible location, but a search of the area turned up nothing. To further complicate matters, Zodiac was known for screwing with the authorities. He claimed to have killed dozens of people, but officially he has only 5 murders on his resume. Furthermore, Lass doesn't fit Zodiac's profile, since he wasn't known for hiding bodies. But that leaves a huge mystery about a vanished nurse and an unidentified man who tried to hide her disappearance.
What?
It's still not known for sure what happened to Donna Lass.
Number 3.
In 1931, there lived a man named William Wallace,
Oh, like Nicolas
worked as
Cage.
a London insurance agent, and he had an obsession for chess. One night, Wallace
I'm
showed
not
up
playing
for
chess
chess
then.
club meeting and found a telephone message waiting for him. The sender wanted to meet at 7:30 the following night so he could purchase a policy. Wallace hopped on a streetcar the next night and traveled across town. He discovered that the address provided didn't exist, so he headed back home, probably convinced that he was the victim of a dumb prank. But when he got home, he found his wife's body. Julia Wallace had been beaten to death, and the mysterious caller was the obvious suspect. But after an investigation, police revealed that they determined that the caller was actually William Wallace himself. Authorities argued that Wallace had left the message to fabricate an alibi, killed his wife, hopped on a streetcar, drove around for an hour, then went home to supposedly discover his wife's body.
Wow.
This argument was invalid. It was completely impossible for Wallace to have committed the murder. The jury found Wallace guilty anyway, but luckily the Court of Criminal Appeal immediately overturned the conviction. The killer was never identified, but the prime suspect was a former employee of Wallace's insurance firm,
So
who
Wally
allegedly
wasn't the
asked his
killer.
wife to provide him with a fake alibi and was seen wearing bloody gloves and hosing down his
So who's
car
the
the
killer?
night of the murder.
Number 2.
In 1965, a young woman named Judith Iams disappeared from her hometown of
65?
Coral Gables, Florida.
Dang, it's 4
Everyone
years ago.
feared the worst when her abandoned car was found in Atlanta with blood in the back seat. Iams was pregnant and a recent divorcee. She allegedly made arrangements to get an illegal abortion from a Hungarian doctor named George Hadju. He was charged with conspiring to perform the abortion, but skipped bail and fled the country.
Wow.
After this, the case was forgotten for a quarter century, until it was rejuvenated by a series of bizarre phone calls. In 1990, the Coral Gables police captain Chuck Smith received a message from Omaha, Nebraska radio host claiming he had information about Iams' disappearance. Smith called the host back, but the host was completely confused. The host said he never made the call and he knew nothing at all about Iams. Smith soon received another anonymous call claiming Iams was alive in Omaha. Smith knew nothing about the case, but he had recently traveled to Omaha to deliver a lecture at a police academy, and he started to wonder if this was a prank. Smith got a third anonymous call from someone who claimed to be an FBI informant who had recently spent time with Dr. Hadju in Hungary. They even provided an old phone number for Hadju that checked out. Smith was confused, but did what any police officer would do with a baffling case. He took the story to Unsolved Mysteries. Days after
Oh
the
my God, I
Iams
remember
episode
that
was
show.
broadcast, Smith got an anonymous letter confirming what many people suspected all along. Iams died during an illegal abortion and wound up in a watery grave. Well, that's the logical solution. It doesn't account for all the strange calls. The callers and writer haven't been identified, the doctor hasn't been found, and Iams' body was never recovered.
Number 1.
Sometime after 10 a.m. on a routine workday, an Oxnard, California switchboard operator received a call from a whispering woman, claiming the President of the United States was going to die in 10 minutes. That time passed without incident, but the woman, still on the phone,
Oh, I
insisted
seen
that
this
President
clip.
JFK was going to die at 10:30. She continued to babble away with cryptic statements like, the Supreme
I seen
Court,
this
there's
clip.
going to be a fire
Yeah,
in
he
all the
died in
windows,
like.
and the government takes over everything, lock, stock, and barrel. The call finally disconnected at 10:25. Naturally, the call was written off as the ramblings of a crazy person. The president gets nonsensical death threats multiple times a day, and the president wasn't even in the state of California. so there wasn't much cause for alarm. While the call was taking place, President Kennedy was traveling in a motorcade. The exact time of Kennedy's death was 10:30. Disturbingly, the woman's prediction was exactly correct. It gets even weirder. Kennedy was scheduled to arrive in the plaza before 10:30, but the motorcade ran late because President Kennedy kept stopping to shake
Yeah, I
hands with
seen this. I
onlookers.
seen the clip. He died.
Halfway through the
I seen
call,
the clip in high
the
school.
operators thought they heard the woman put the phone down and dial
I seen
another
this clip.
number.
He died in
When
high
they
school.
asked
It
if
was
she needed help,
gruesome.
she responded, "No, I'm using the phone." It was after this that she bumped the time of the president's death from 10:10 to 10:30. It's still completely unknown who made the call or how she knew it would happen and when.
Yeah, why? Oh no! Yo, he's like, nah. Dante, you good? What's wrong with you,
Okay,
man?
that
Alright, man.
that was good. That was creepy. We are done with that video. Leave.
Leave
Oh
a
my God,
like,
stop.
man. Just
Leave